Cybernation uncensored.
What's up, everybody? In this crash course tutorial, we're going to go over the core mechanics and doing a resolution roll for Shadows of Esteren by Studio Agate. So let's get right into it. Check it out here. I've got a character sheet pulled up, and you can see here on the left side these 5 ways: combativeness, creativity, empathy, reason, and conviction. Now these 5 ways, those are basically the character's main stats. And each one of those stats is going to be associated with a particular skill. And those skills are basically referred to as domains. You can see some listed here: close combat, feats, perception. Now, these domains, which are skills, they rank from 1 to 5. And again, they're associated with particular ways. And you're going to do a resolution roll by combining your ways and the associated domain and a D10 and trying to match or beat the particular threshold difficulty level set by your game leader. And I'll get into that in a moment. I'll give you a little example. But first, I want to explain something about domains and disciplines. So a domain, as I said, is kind of your main skill, like that close combat, feats or perception, and they're associated with a particular ways. Like in close combat or feats, you see there it's associated with combativeness. So you'll see your combativeness ways, and you'll see here next to that domain combativeness abbreviated next to feats or close combat. In perception, you'll see right there REA, which is abbreviated for reason. So again, your reason way is associated with perception. So that's how it is. You basically look at your chart, you see which skill or domain is associated with which way. You combine that, roll your 1d10, and you try to match or beat the difficulty rating set by the game leader. But those domains rank from 1 to 5. You'll see these little bubbles here next to each one that you fill up as you rank up. Those rank 1 to 5, but once you pass that, from 6 to 15, you basically get into disciplines. So as your skill gets a little more specific and fine-tuned, you develop a discipline. Now let me give you some examples of that. So like let's say in feats, right, which is associated with your combativeness. Let's say a character wants to jump over a wall, let's say, and they have like a 4 or 5 feats. You'd add that to your ways. Combativeness, let's say that's a 3 or 4 or 6, whatever it is. Those numbers don't matter at this moment, but basically you add that up, you roll your 1d10, you try to beat the threshold. However, let's say the character has advanced, you've racked up the points, and you've passed that 5 points of feats, and now you have 6 points or 7, whatever it might be beyond 5, and you put that into your discipline. You basically your fine-tuned skill. So like in feats, maybe you have acrobats. Or acrobatics. So you're an acrobat maybe when it comes to certain specific feats of strength like that. So in this case, let's say that character wants to jump over a wall. If they have the discipline to do that and maybe help that action, like acrobatics, meant they would add that in. So their 6 or 7 in acrobatics now would be added to their combativeness, their ways, plus that 1d10 to beat that threshold. So you see, as you get more and more advanced, beyond that 5 points of domain, you can start allocating points into specific disciplines and get a little more advanced, a little more fine-tuned, a little more skilled in these little specifics. Another example, like let's say perception. Let's say a character is looking for a particular NPC in a crowd or something. Oh, I'm trying to find them, or over a vast distance, right? And you would do a perception check. Let's see if you can find them or see them. And let's say your perception has passed those 5 points and you've gone into disciplines. You're a bit more trained and specific in lip reading. Let's just use that as an example. So now in this case, maybe you're looking for the person, you find them, or someone else finds them, or maybe that's not even an issue. You can see them. You don't even have to look for them. But now you want to use your specific discipline of lip reading to see what they're talking about with someone they're with, or having a conversation with. that's an example of using a discipline. So you can see basically you're using your domains like a skill, your ways like a stat to accomplish actions for your character. But if you are a bit more specific and trained in specific disciplines, you would use those. And those only come in, like I said, if you're ranking from 6 to 15. So initially, you're going to have your main skills or domains ranking 1 to 5. And as you advance and you get more and more skilled, you're going to develop these disciplines. And each domain has a list of disciplines that you can choose from that are listed in the book, but you can also come up with your own. Now let's go over those difficulty thresholds that you're trying to match or beat that were set by your game leader. You can see right here, I have the little chart set up. You have easy, standard, complicated, all the way up to superhuman. And those suggestions are, 8, 11, 14, all the way up to 35. Now, you can use numbers in between these, but these are a general guideline. These will kind of give the game leader guidance and a sort of standard to work with. But again, you can adjust this and fine tune it to specific situations and characters and gameplay to fit your particular campaign or game or moment. But again, this is, the standard that is in the book for you to use. The last thing I want to go over are critical successes and critical failures. So a critical success is when you roll a natural 10 when you roll your 10-sided die. And if you do that, you roll the 10-sided die again. And if you hit a 10 a second time, it's considered a critical success. And when you have a critical success, any number of things can happen. Some examples are, if you're in combat, you will deal an additional 5 points of damage. If you're healing someone, you'll heal an additional 5 points of damage. If you're, trying to persuade someone, let's say, using your relations and stuff, and you get a critical success, you end up getting an additional +5 bonus points to use and it's temporary, anytime you're dealing with that particular person or NPC or character. So you can see how a critical success can be very advantageous. It's difficult, you got to hit that 10, then you got to hit that 10 a second time, but when you do, man, the benefits are great. And a critical failure works in a very similar way, just opposite, right? So if you roll a natural 1, it's considered a failure, a critical failure. You hit that 10-sided die a second time, and if you hit a 1 again, it's a critical failure, and you basically have to get an extra 5 points of damage in combat. Let's say you're healing someone, you end up causing an additional 5 points of damage. Let's say you're crafting some type of item. If it's involving hazardous materials, you might end up taking 5 points of damage. So you can see how a critical failure can really mess you up, just in the same way that a critical success can be beneficial. Well, there you have it. That's how you do a resolution roll, and those are the core mechanics for Shadows of Esteren. Now, I'm going to do a separate video about combat because that involves a little bit more to that resolution roll. So keep that in mind. Look out for that next. And I also want to mention that, these resolution rolls aren't a necessity. Make sure you check out the first video in this Crash Course tutorial series, because I go over the setting and style of the game, and it's very important to start there, because these resolution rolls, although this is how it works, these are the core mechanics, like I said, they're not a necessity. This game really encourages the role playing. So if you can role play a situation out in a scene in your campaign or whatever, do that. Have fun with it, lean into the role play, and just act it out with the characters and create the story together. If it's too vague, if it's not role played out, it's not that in detail at the moment, maybe you need to do a resolution roll to get to an end result or an answer to whatever the action is that the character is trying to do. But again, check out that first video, really get a feel for the game, and then make it your own. There's no right or wrong way to play any tabletop role-playing game. The first and only fucking rule is have fun. So just have fun, and as long as you're having fun, you're doing it right. All right, give the video a like, give us a share, please give us a subscribe. Make sure you check out the links in the description. Don't miss out on those links. I know the Kickstarter is going right now. I don't know if by the time you're watching this, if it's still active, but the other links are there so you can get the other materials, and I know there's future ones coming as well. So like I said, check out those links, give us a like, a share, show some love, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Cyberpunk Uncensored.